anyone tell me what this date represents and the significance of it? Carrie?
Excuse me?
Can you tell me what this date represents or the significance of it?
The state,
The date on the board.
the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Yes. So,
And
Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States on December 7, 1941 at Pearl Harbor Naval Base in Hawaii at 7:55 in the morning. It was a surprise attack that caught us completely off guard. So right now we're going to watch 2 quick video clips, and you guys will be able to have an understanding of how that impacted the United States.
The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941, here dramatically shot by Japanese film crews for propaganda purposes, not only crippled America's Pacific Fleet, it changed the course of history. Just the day before the raid, President Roosevelt had personally appealed to Emperor Hirohito not to drag their 2 countries into war. But it was too late. Japan had formed a secret pact with Germany to attack the Allied forces in Europe and in the Far East. America at that stage was neutral, but generally sympathetic to the Allied cause. This was an attempt to destroy American military power in the Pacific before she could strike back. Massive attack, Europe's war became America's, as Senator Connolly, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, made abundantly plain.
With unbelievable treachery and craftiness, Japan has attacked our territory and murdered American citizens. Japan began this war in treachery. We shall end it in victory.
Within hours of the Pearl Harbor raid, American Army and Navy officers were called from their homes and weekend golf clubs meeting at the War Department to prepare to retaliate. President Roosevelt officially informed Congress that a state of war now existed between the United States and Japan. Within hours, Congress gave him the authority to prosecute the conflict all out. The legacy of the raid was enormous. 5 American battleships were sunk or damaged beyond repair. 200 aircraft were destroyed and more than 2,400 people killed. But more than that, Pearl Harbor led directly to what truly became the Second World War.
So as you guys can see, it was a huge surprise attack on the United States that we never saw coming, and it actually very much crippled our naval base in Pearl Harbor. Now we're going to watch a next clip that talks about the aftermath of... Sorry, there's some pop-ups. Can anyone think of any event that might have happened in history that would be similar to the Pearl Harbor attack?
September 11th.
Yes, great job. We're gonna watch this next video for you. Before I start, sorry, there are some derogatory remarks made by the newscaster. You have to understand this was actual footage that took place in 1941 after the attack. So a slang term for the Japanese that is considered derogatory is called Japs, and they do use that as an offensive term. We don't condone it, but just a heads up, that's what's in the video.
Your commentator is Joel Bryant. Here is the motion picture record released by the United States Navy of the havoc wrought by the Japs' sneak sky and sea raid on Pearl Harbor, America's mid-Pacific naval bastion. On December 7, 1941, Japan, like its infamous Axis partners, struck first and declared war afterwards. Costly to our Navy was the loss of war vessels, airplanes, and equipment, but more costly to Japan was the effectiveness of its foul attack in immediately unifying America in its determination to fight and win the war thrust upon it, and to win the peace that will follow. The Japs copied their German masters in striking hard at airfields. Hickam Field, northwest of Honolulu, and the Ford Island Naval Plane Base were the first objectives of Japan's treachery. Scores of planes were bruised and battered by the Jap aerial bombs. Many of these were demolished beyond repair. Direct hits were scored on hangars, and these were badly shattered. Equipment and airplane supplies were reduced to smoldering ruins. Here at the Naval Air Station is grim and positive evidence of Jap treachery. Here foul blows were struck, while Jap diplomats were talking peace in Washington. America lost 3 destroyers. Here are seen the United States destroyers Downs and Shore as they rest on the bottom of Pearl Harbor, with decks awash after Jap bombers make direct hits on their decks. First to feel the sting of Japanese steel are the USS Oklahoma and Utah, the latter a 33-year-old target ship. Accurate hits by the enemy bombers make short work of these 2 naval bulwarks. Now, with their keels practically out of water, they lie helpless wrecks, and a sad reminder of cowardly strategy. To make possible the surprise attack within Pearl Harbor, the Japs built 2-man submarines to enable them to fire sneak blows within waters that are narrow and tortuous. Several of these surprise weapons were blown from the water by direct hits of our naval gunners. Others were beached and captured. While sky and sea fire was still raging, salvage crews inspected our naval craft to estimate what may be saved. Before the din of bursting bombs had been silenced, preparations were underway to salvage these 2 warships. At low tide, the huge propeller of the Oklahoma, stilled by the enemy, was high above water. It is believed that the small 2-man Jap submarines carrying dual torpedo tubes were responsible for these 2 losses to our Pacific fleet. Here is the actual bombing of the mighty USS Arizona by Jap planes. These pictures were made by a fearless cameraman who thought nothing of his personal safety to make possible this record for all posterity. A single lucky hit was responsible for the disaster that befell the Arizona when a Jap bomb falling directly through one of the battleship's funnels exploded in the engine room and set ablaze tons of fuel oil. Dense black smoke billowed to the sky as the massive control tower began to keel over. The Arizona's courageous crew stuck to its guns until the very end. Here was displayed heroism that will live forever in the glorious annals and traditions of the American Navy. The once mighty Arizona now rests on Pearl Harbor's muddy bottom, a pitiful relic of its former self, a grim monument to the treachery of Japan. The once mighty dreadnought's armor plate is twisted and torn, but the great battleship's control tower still stands, a defiant beacon that in days to come will cast its shadow upon Nippon's very shores. At Pearl Harbor, at Hickam Field, in the bomb-pocked streets of Honolulu, ever is written history. History with a tragic, treacherous pen. History that 130 million Americans will never forget. And in days to come, the Japs, too, will remember Pearl Harbor. Here is a tragic, unforgettable page in the annals of America. Here the cunning deceit of the Japs will never be forgotten. Here they hoped to score a knockout before the war began. The Arizona's gun crews, battered and broken, fired to the last. Their guns pointed skyward, from whence the enemy appeared. The Jap sneak blow cost hundreds of military and civilian lives. small Pacific fleet, 2 battleships outright, another capsized, the loss of 3 destroyers and a mine layer.
Technical difficulties. I apologize, guys. Ladies, gentlemen. So as you can see from the clip we just watched, some pretty horrific stuff that happened. The USS Arizona, like they said, one single attack, one single missile blew up that carrier.
While
And
bombs were still bursting and flames still
insane.
pouring from our shattered naval craft, a light United States cruiser valiantly moves out to join the fleet and avenge Pearl Harbor. June 3rd, 1930.
So if you guys could take out your notebooks, we're gonna take some notes off of the PowerPoint presentations that I prepared for you guys. Just give me a second as I get that set up. Our smartboard